Good morning, Nigeria. As I always say, TVC has got a finger on the pulse and our eyes on the streets, and we do our best on a daily basis to bring you trending stories from Nigeria and indeed across the globe in order to talk about the things that are shaping the world that you and I live in. We begin today on a very somber note. As Nigeria and indeed the world mourns the passing of former President Muhammadu Buhari, what remains is not just the memory of a leader, but the story of a resolute man. Beyond the politics, beyond the presidency, who was Muhammadu Buhari? What did he value and what shaped the quiet force behind his stern expression? Here are 5 personal and lesser-known facts that offer a deeper glimpse into the man behind the public image. Well, Buhari donated his only foreign property to school. Despite years in power, Buhari famously claimed to own only one house abroad, a modest property in Kaduna, and he donated it to serve as a girls' school. It was a gesture that underscored his long-standing message of modest living and his investment in education. Outside the presidency, Buhari was a quiet farmer. His ranch in Daura, Katsina State remained his retreat, where he raised cattle and often spent time away from the spotlight. Some say that it was his sanctuary long before and even after politics. Another fact is that in a world of flashy leaders, Buhari was known for his personal austerity. People close to him say that he didn't wear a wristwatch until much later in his presidency, and this was a small but symbolic habit that reflected his simple lifestyle and his detachment from extravagance. Buhari also apparently had a quiet love for books and literature, especially on military strategy, governance, and Nigerian history. Finally, one thing about Buhari was that he never publicly celebrated his birthdays because he believed that birthdays should be private affairs, often spent quietly with family or in prayer. There's also a video that's trending of him expressing a heartfelt apology. Let's have a look.
We are all humans. There is no doubt I hurt some people, and I wish they would pardon me. And those that think that I have hurt them so much, please pardon me. I thank you.
When all is said and done, what matters is the life legacy and the impact that we leave behind. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Goodbye to a stellar leader. Moving on in the world of news. In a bold move that's set to reshape travel across the African continent, Kenya has now scrapped visa requirements for all African nationals and most Caribbean countries. Travelers from these regions will no longer need to apply for an electronic travel authorization, also known as an ETA, or fill out any cumbersome forms or pay any visa fees. Instead, they can simply show up at the border and walk right in, hassle-free. Now, under this new policy, African nationals can stay in Kenya for up to 2 months, while citizens of East African Community member states will be allowed to remain for up to 6 months. The Kenyan government says that it's all part of a bigger push to strengthen regional integration and boost tourism across Africa. Now, Kenyan ministries have already been tasked by President Ruto to iron out the implementation details to ensure a smooth rollout next year. However, this open door policy does come with a few exceptions. Citizens, unfortunately, of Somalia and Libya will still need visas or an ETA, and officials are citing ongoing security concerns for this. But with this shift, Kenya is positioning itself not just as a travel hub, but as a leader in continental and indeed Pan-African collaboration. This is a commendable and idealistic approach by Kenya. I think it's great. It's going to boost tourism and Pan-Africanism, but they will have to make sure that this visa-free policy is not exploited by unscrupulous individuals. Moving on, let's actually take some tweets right now. Neon says, "This makes Kenya a walk-in country for criminals. Say goodbye to our well-reputed international tourism. Everything we have proudly built over the years will unfortunately be pulled apart by the unchecked criminal. This free-for-all entry is chaotic, creates lawlessness, and locals get a raw deal with no regulations for entry." We'll take one more social media submission. Shola says, "Nigerians will flock into Kenya and destroy it the same way they did to South Africa." That's not xenophobic at all, is it? Moving on in the world of Nigerian news, the Church of Nigeria, the Anglican Communion, has officially drawn the line between faith and politics. They've now barred politicians and government officials from speaking at their pulpits during church services. Now, this move was announced on Saturday, and it's followed public backlash over a fiery political speech that was delivered by FCT Minister Nyesom Wike at a Sunday service in Abuja's All Saints Anglican Church. Now, Wike had used the sacred platform to lash out at his critics and flex his political muscle, and this was an act that many people saw as a step too far for church. The church is now saying that enough is enough. In a strongly worded directive, church leadership declared that consecrated spaces such as the lectern, pulpit, and altar are strictly reserved for worship. Scripture readings and sermons by ordained ministers only. No exceptions, unless, of course, cleared by church authorities. Now, while the Anglican Church affirms its responsibility to pray for and engage with leaders on issues of justice and governance, it made one thing clear: the pulpit is not a podium for propaganda. Now, this directive signals a shift that many congregants have long called for, keeping the Christian sanctuary sacred and politics in the public square where it belongs. Now, we cannot deny that politics and the church have always intersected. The church does have a duty, I think, to speak on good governance and justice and peace. However, it's important they do not allow themselves to be used as a political tool. Let's see what you guys think about this. The Anglican Church said, oh no, you don't. Mendy says, this is a bold and commendable move by the church. The pulpit should be a place for spiritual growth, not political campaigns. Nigeria needs clear boundaries between religion and politics. And Elozona Chiku says, the church is often skilled at stirring public sympathy with words, yet it fails woefully at living up to the ideals that it proclaims. Interesting. And finally, Amos says this. He says, wait and watch Wike go and revoke the CFO of Anglican churches in Abuja. Team, that tweet was hilarious. I need to get myself together. But do you think that religion and politics intersect? And if so, how should they intersect? What is a healthy way? The Anglican Church said no more, and not on our podium.
Yes, religion and politics have always intertwined from history. I mean, if you remember the Crusades, and the Catholic Church at that time was the biggest political party in the whole world, and they were conquering nations and nations and nations. So politics and religion have always been intertwined. But nowadays, we are using that combination so negatively, especially in Nigeria. And that's why I commend the Anglican Church for taking that stance that separate politics from religion. Now, Christians can be politicians, but on the podium, on a consecrated space in church, you can't stand there and talk politics. That's another weak case first, if you want to say that. And that comment about revoking the CFO, that really got me. Visa-free for African countries, that's a very risky decision. For you to take that kind of decision, you must have upped your game as far as your internal security is concerned. You must have put a whole lot of things tourism-wise together so people have legitimate reasons to go there. My biggest fear is what one of the people that commented on your on the comments said, that it allows both the good, the bad, and the ugly to walk into Kenya. That is quite risky. And for our late president, we all know him, and we understand his virtues and so on. May his soul rest in peace. Indeed, may the soul of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, continue to rest in peace. And we condole with the family at this point. May they find the fortitude to bear this loss. I'd leave it there because we have spoken a lot about him on this table this morning. So to the story in Kenya, I believe that the Kenyan authorities must have put structures in place to checking the activities of those who are coming in. As much as it is visa-free, you are not filling in documents and all of it. They would ensure that they have security checks as you come in. It's not that you just get there and just walk in. No. Because even countries where you even put checks in place, you fill all the forms, you still see people perpetuating evil acts. But they must have ensured that they do their homework, that as people coming, they check them. So it's a step in the right direction from my perspective if the structure is put in place to check the activities of those who are coming in. And then for the Anglican Church, well, Wike is not the first person to use the podium to speak about politics.
And I guess because of the peculiarities of the Orthodox Church, the Anglican Church decided, you know what, we have chosen not to allow politicians come and speak, because Wike wouldn't have been as bold to speak about these issues if it had not been done before somewhere else. And so I believe it behoves the church to begin to check activities of politicians. As much as you're saying you're not shutting your doors to politicians, you allow them speak, but definitely not politicizing and any other thing they want to talk about, desecrating the sanctity of the church. It's good to put measures in place.
All right, and I'll start with the late president. I'll say something. His death just shows us that nobody is leaving this world alive. And at the end of the day, it's the legacies that will stand for you. And this is, you know, a saying to our leaders that while you're in power, you just have to do the right thing, because there's one thing you'll be remembered for. And I pray that he will definitely rest in peace. Well, moving on to the visa travel. I remember when TVC was sending me to South Africa, I didn't need any visa. It was just easy to step in. But I'll tell you what, Olamide, there was a lot of checks when I got to South Africa. Even though I didn't need a visa, they still checked me, asked for my ID, asked for my Ghana identification card and all of that. I don't think African countries need visas to go to African countries. I'm one person that I'm totally against it, because I believe that we are all one. And if we're trying to strengthen ourselves, why do we need visa? So at the end of the day, I know that there are security checks, because it happened to me in South Africa. I was even wondering, I'm like, why are they checking me so much like this? I didn't need a visa to go to South Africa. But at the end of the day, I was checked properly. So I'm sure that Kenya has adopted that as well. And I really think that, you know, more African countries should adopt it. We should be able to go to our fellow African countries. We're sisters and brothers at the end of the day. It's just like telling me you need a visa to go to Ghana. It's not possible. You know, we're one at the end of the day. And then moving on to the Wike speaking in the church. I don't really want to speak about this, because I've said a lot of times, a church is a church. I do not understand why politicians should go to church and be speaking, especially when you stand on that altar. That altar is a godly place, like it's a sacred place. So there's some kind of things that should not be said. But anyway, Wike is always Wike, and I hope that the CFO still remains for the church.
Yeah, so I think I have just two things to talk about. Very quickly on Buhari, at least we know that Buhari, former President Muhammadu Buhari, lived an austere life. We also agree to the fact that he didn't have to wear wristwatch, unlike, you know, one of these politicians will say he wore only wristwatch, or he or she wore only wristwatch and one shoe for several years, and it never changed it. But we believe that. Talk about Kenya, the visa travel, the free entry for Africans. I think that's the way to go. And I disagree with those who say, yeah, security, insecurity, and all that. People who even have the visas, they've had to get into these countries, and we've seen some Nigerians fighting on the streets of UAE, you know, in Dubai, with cutlasses and all of that, cultism and all of that. So I think this is in line with the Pan-Africanism. You talk about Julius Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, you know, even Tafawa Balewa then in 1963, who came together saying that, listen, these inherited colonial borders that we have, they just use it to separate us, because we guys, we are closer, we are one, so why shouldn't we, you know, come together? Let's withdraw these borders. They said, okay, we can't withdraw the borders, let's use these borders as administrative, you know, purposes for Africans, so that we will have free access, free movement. That's why we also have the AFCFTA. So when the Belgians, King Leopold of Belgium in 1884, you know, drew these borders, shared the African continent among themselves, it is to divide us. So when we see the opportunity to come together, we should emphasize this. And I didn't even know we were going to talk about this story. I just read a comment of a friend that I met in the UK last year, saying that, Ibrahim, it's time for you to come to Kenya, because Kenya is open. So Moige William, hopefully this year I will be in Kenya, God willing.
I love that you always have a great take on international stories, Ibrahim. What I want to say, a memory just came to mind very quickly. My father was a lecturer at the University of Zaria many years, for a professor many years before he passed. And he was close friends with late President Muhammadu Buhari. I remember he would visit our house. My mother would lay out all these decadent treats, right? Rishi. And all he ever wanted was black tea. Right. I think that really speaks to the sort of person he was, very stern and principled. I'll take some more stories. Moving on, in the world of entertainment news, TikTok personality and content creator Habib Hamzat Adelaja, better known as Pella, is pushing back after backlash over his recent cameraman job interview, which many online dubbed a publicity stunt. Now, the screening was held earlier this week, and it caught fire on social media after one of the applicants posted a video claiming the process felt more like a content shoot than a genuine job opportunity. Her emotional recount drew a lot of sympathy and criticism towards Pella, and many people accused him of exploiting Nigeria's high unemployment rate for engagement. Take a look at a clip from one of the interviews.
On my CV, but when I came last year to Lagos, I was an intern in Creator Africa.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
Come, stand up. I said 20 years or 22 years because you'll be beating me. You know you get body like a man, you go injure me, I beg. But don't worry. What's your name? Your name, man. Which tribe?
I'm Efiki.
Efiki?
Yes.
You are not in Nigeria, you are a Ghana person. Go there, Jare.
Yes, I'm very single.
You are fairly single. If I apply this job for you, what will your husband say?
I don't have a boyfriend.
What is this?
My
master card.
My results.
Where is the master card?
I'm not done for masters yet.
So we say you have graduated.
Yeah.
Setting the record straight. In a video posted to his Instagram on Saturday evening, he defended this interview process and confirmed that 2 candidates had actually been selected and would each earn the promised 500,000 naira monthly salary. He also addressed one of the applicants' claims directly, and he insisted that the reason that the session was streamed live was to ensure transparency. Now, Pella had first announced this opening on social media and promised 500,000 naira monthly. And of course, there were droves of hopefuls that came for the interview, undergraduates and even master degree holders. I think that the sheer turnout that he saw for those interviews shows that the unemployment crisis in the youth is still very much alive. Before I take some tweets, I'd like you guys to please chime in with the hashtag #TrendingNowTVC. And who knows, I'd love to take some of your tweets on here. Let's take a look at what people are saying about Pella. N6 of Life says, everybody who went to see Pella for a job interview and was used for content is legally entitled to a percentage of all earnings he makes from the sale or streams of any content posted from that day. I doubt he or them know this. That's all we have time for today, guys. I'm going to hand over to my team. Etoma, I want to ask you, do you know who Pella is?
Okay, do I look like a grandfather? Yeah, of course I know who Pella is. And his interview was, for me, it was quite rude. You know, it's as if you're taking advantage of the people that came for that interview. You know, talking to people like that, it just didn't work out for me.
I think that that was wrong of him. He had to come defend himself with all of the statements he was making. You don't ride on the misfortunes of others just to gain prominence. It's sad.
And I've never found Pella funny. I don't think he's funny. And when somebody doesn't go to school, in a way, it shows. And I think that's what just happened there. And I do not find him funny.
Yeah, so I think we just waste our time, our monies on people like that. It's a very stupid thing to be done by anyone, ever. So if these people have sense, let them come together. I'm sorry to say that, but if you think properly, let them come together, sue this guy to court, make money out of him very quickly, because you can easily make money out of him for streaming you. I don't know. It doesn't.
I will carry my master's degree and go and sit down with Pella.
Come on, it doesn't make sense.